Come on. Do it. Fuck! Hey, my name's Grant. This is Spencer. This is our review show where we are going to look at a remake of a movie, the original version of that movie, and then compare and contrast, talk about them, and maybe give final thoughts? We'll give final thoughts. And, I mean, I'm going to say which one I think's better. I don't know if that's what you're going to do, but that's what I'm going to do. And first movie today, remake that just happened, great time for Halloween, called The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I guess we're going to talk about the original 1976 one first.
Jenkins, age 19, brutally attacked March 3rd, 1946. Howard W. Turner, 29. Emmylou Cook, 17. Bodies discovered in a wooded area on March 24th. Roy Allen, 17. Peggy Loomis, 15. Both found dead April 14th in Spring Lake Park. This man's identity is unknown. He was believed to be between 30 and 40 years old. He wore a white hood and was known only as the Phantom Killer.
Yeah, so I guess that was a little look at the movie right there.
Yeah, preview, something like that.
Very, as you can tell, 70s, which to you youngsters seems a long time ago.
We're pretty young too, but the point is, it's dated.
Yeah, no, it is a dated film. I think
especially the narration feels dated.
If you grew up on like today's type of horror films, like the ones with action, for some reason, this will bore you. The Town That Dreaded Sundown will bore modern.
I don't know. I think if you like, not, I wouldn't go at it seeing it as a horror movie, the original. I would say if you like slow burn dramas with then you might like the original.
Yeah.
And if you like 80s slashers, you'll actually really appreciate the original.
No, this is definitely a ground floor.
Because this movie is kind of at the forefront of the original slashers, and it doesn't feel like a slasher until about halfway through the movie.
No, it really kicks off almost. Like it starts off like a documentary, almost like a mockumentary.
Yeah, where
there's like this almost. I mean, the narrator.
It's really silly. It does seem like a mockumentary because there's a lot of jokes actually.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Feels really weird.
Hey, Sparkplug, aren't you a little lopsided?
Go to hell, Randy.
They tell me old Sparky had to do to find that out too, was digging back his closet.
So the kills in the film were really good. There were a few inventive ones, and they were very silly.
Yeah, some of them had a lot of humor to
There's
them.
a great one with trumpet.
Yeah, he takes a trumpet for some reason. Wasn't the guy in the band or something like that?
Yeah, the kid was in the band.
He grabs his trumpet, he takes his knife, he duct tapes his knife to the end of the trumpet.
Oh, no.
The kills are good though. I would say the kills are on par with any slasher of the time that came after it. I mean, like Halloween, they're just as good as kills in Halloween.
Yeah,
just as inventive. So. They're not boring.
Obviously, Halloween is a more artfully put together film.
Yeah.
A lot of slow motion. A lot of out of place.
It feels
almost out of nowhere slow motion.
There's a lot of slow motion nowadays, which is why it feels almost modern when the slow motion happens in the film.
Yeah, but it only happens like I can count the amount of times it happens on my hand, and each time it happens, it's kind of striking and out of nowhere.
We ain't gonna make this. Hold on, Captain. Hold it. Whoop, whoop.
I'm gonna spoil the 1971 because it ties into the
spoiler
remake. The end of the movie, he just gets away. He just gets away after getting shot.
I liked.
It's not. It's not too satisfying.
No, the ending wasn't satisfying at all. But I think it was a brave choice.
All right, now it's time for final thoughts on Town That Dreaded Sundown, 1976. I would say one of the pros of the film for me personally. The kills are great. The movie is pretty wonderfully shot for its time. There are some times where it looks like a modern movie. It's shot very well. some of the dialogue and the acting delivery in that film was just awkward.
I would say bad.
Just super awkward.
I think it was very low budget, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was super low budget, but yeah, like you could tell at the low budget, it did look good. Like the effects were good, and there was.
I think cinematography was great.
Yeah. Anyway,
right.
Final thoughts.
Pros and cons for me. All right, pros. Good kills, inventive for the time. Really well. The movie's well shot. Cinematography's great. I thought it was a beautiful movie on the whole. I thought it was really pretty. The setting was really good. Texarkana looks awesome. It's like classic small town. Cons. Acting's horrible. Also, I don't know. You kind of said this with the editing. The pacing is just not. It's not very well put together. I don't think.
No.
It starts really slow, and then the kills start. It gets interesting, and then it ends with like a whimper.
The town that dreaded sundown.
All right, so yeah, now it's time for Town That Dreaded Sundown 2014.
Grandma, do you remember anything about the murders?
Your great-grandpa and your great-grandma lived in this house when it happened. He was the boogeyman, they said. Can't catch the boogeyman. Can't kill the boogeyman. You know, before that summer, everybody would leave their doors unlocked. And after the summer, you saw a stranger, you'd run the other way. And now, he's back.
So yeah, Town That Dreaded Sundown 2014. Really interesting film. Super meta. One of the more meta films I've seen.
I like
Yeah. I guess if we're gonna put it on a scale, more meta than Scream, not as meta as Cabin in the Woods.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Cabin in the Woods is like the max meta you can get because it was made as like a meta horror movie.
Your Next is pretty close too.
I would say it's much less meta. It's about as meta as this film.
Yeah, I would say that's a good level. If you've seen Your Next or The Guest, this is about that
In fact,
level
I know it's not time for the review or anything, but if you liked Your Next or The Guest, you would like this film.
Yes, I would say that's true. And if you haven't seen either of those films, go see them now.
Absolutely.
Fucking amazing.
Fantastic.
All right, now back to
distracted.
this. So Town That Dreaded Sundown, basically the remake opens with in the town of Texarkana, present
It's a
day.
sequel remake, meta sequel.
Not. It's hard to explain.
The plot is a sequel, though.
Not really.
Yeah, it literally follows the original murders. They show the.
Well, we'll get into it.
Okay.
Let me just say. So it opens with a drive-in movie theater where all the high schoolers of the town of Texarkana are at, and they're, oddly enough, at a yearly film festival where they screen the movie in the town.
Which actually happens in that town today.
Opens there at that event. So, already, it's kind of, in your face.
Pretty meta, yeah.
Hey, you want some meta shit? Because here's a remake of a movie with the movie in it.
Yeah, which is really odd.
Yeah, but
Scream
it works.
does a little bit of that,
It
too.
works. Yeah, Scream eventually did put Stab into the series,
Which
but
is similar to this.
That's
but
when
this
it
is
really got
literally
going.
showing the original film.
Like-
and it's referenced, for example...
it's part of the plot. It's part of the mystery.
What do you want?
Turn around. Do not look back.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
The movie is really much a slasher mystery film.
Yeah, it's almost... Grant actually likened it to, a detective film. I would disagree, but there are definitely elements of that.
Yeah, no, it's very much like...
There's gathering clues.
she's got shit to do. As the main final girl, it's almost like she's already been final girl-did.
Yeah.
And
she's, chasing the killer and stuff.
Yeah, she's chasing the killer.
There's, montages of her, looking up evidence and things of
yeah,
the original.
she gets really active in this investigation, and it's cool how it ties into a lot of the research she uses in the plot of the film, investigating what happened, is research that was actually used for the movie, the 1976 one. They even go and talk to the director's son.
Of the original film.
The original, which I didn't look up, but it would be interesting if that was actually him.
No, it wasn't. I know that actor.
Even though this is a movie that, the plot of the remake exists in a world where the original film exists. That was a crazy sentence. A lot of the murders and characters in the remake are direct homages to the original characters from the original film.
Also meta.
The first couple that's successfully murdered is
almost identical.
Yeah, it's like a war vet coming back home, and getting killed after reuniting with his girlfriend.
Which is exactly
what happened in the original movie. Yeah.
And they have, not to... Spoilers real quick. They have another trumpet murder.
Oh, yeah, the trumpet kill.
It happens. Although, it's completely different.
I really like just the... just almost not even thought of, twist of... What if one of the couples going out to make out was gay? Because you don't really see that in horror movies too often.
Actually, not that it should be a big deal or anything.
But it was
all right. It was odd because I never see it in horror movies.
Yeah, it's not odd because, oh my god, they're gay. It was odd because, wow, you don't really see this in a horror movie.
Yeah.
After a flesh and blood killer.
Just about everyone around here's got some kind of blood on their hands.
The ending was actually surprising. And some people may say, oh, I saw it from the beginning. Well, I think that's cool that you could have seen it.
That you could have seen it from the beginning.
Because it wasn't obvious.
Because, looking back, I rewatched the opening scene after rewatching the ending, which I recommend you do, and yeah, there are some clues that what's going on isn't what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to get into more to that. I don't want to spoil too much more of the movie, but yeah, there are some... Obviously, we spoiled that, oh my god, some teenagers die in a slasher.
There's a lot of kills.
There's a lot of great homages to the original, kind of weirdly screwing into the plot you could pick up. One thing I do think I definitely need to mention, this movie, beautifully shot. It is a beautiful movie.
Just like the original. Really gorgeous.
The opening scene is this one super long, not super long, but this one really beautifully shot long take through the drive-through of all
it's
these
weaving between cars and stuff, but it's all one take.
It's really good.
And then it kind of pulls up into the sky. It was really impressive.
My favorite scene of the entire film is the third couple that's attacked.
Which one was that?
The woman gets away and runs into the weeds. And it's in the backyard. From above. And
dude,
there's this huge thing of weeds.
It's in the... we might have showed it in the...
This is the...
It's in the trailer.
This is a quick glimpse of the scene. Town of Dread Sundown 2014. Great, really good kills, even though they're kind of just homages to the original. Super meta in a fairly unique way where it's not winking at you constantly. It's part of the plot. The meta is the plot, which is really cool. I like that. Just a really cool, clever concept. Beautifully shot. The acting, really good. Much better. If you watch the original and then the remake right after, you're going to be acting better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Town of Dread Sundown 2014. Check that shit out.
Yeah. For me, pros and cons. Pros, it's gorgeous. It's watchable just for if you really like just film and you like looking at how things are shot. Absolutely worth watching for that. The kills are great, same as the original. The plot is miles above the original. The acting, I would disagree with you in that it's great acting. It's good acting, but I think only when you compare it to the original, which was bad
That's
acting.
true.
I'd say the acting is just fine.
But I mean, that's what we're doing.
I didn't really feel for any of the characters. I didn't really I wasn't pulling for anybody in particular. But cons, I felt like some of the kills were a little rushed. I felt like some of the kills were a little bit, what's the word? They ended and it wasn't the build up wasn't nearly as it built up really well and then it just kind of ended suddenly. There's a word for that.
Anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic. Some of the original kills in the movie were anticlimactic. Also, the ending, I was satisfied with the twist. I wasn't totally satisfied with the very ending of the movie.
Yeah, it kind of the movie just speeds up almost out of nowhere, and it's oh, and it's got to end, and then it's oh, the twist, and then it kind of ends.
It feels rushed.
That's one thing I would say. The movie in itself, the editing and stuff, just feel jumbled sometimes. After the twist, I had to think. I was okay, what? And then I had to double check. Okay, this happened. All right, I understand it. Yeah, it took a second.
And I feel like that
it could have been edited more straightforward.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that was a choice made by the editor or.
And there's a lot that could have happened that we don't know about. Running out of money.
We don't know.
Editing.
Movies are hard to make.
The Sundays turn out bright. It's alright.
All right, so yeah, those were our thoughts on the original, or on the not the original,
on the
two,
2014 remake / sequel.
Yeah, on the only two Town of the Dreaded Sundowns.
Now we're going to talk about final thoughts on both movies, compare and contrast, and maybe make a decision about which one.
We're just gonna I guess talk about both, you know, how they are as movies. So do you want to go first?
All right, sure. First one. We already talked about pros and cons, so I'm not going to cover that. I thought it was good. I think the kind of person that would want to watch it, like I said before, fan of slasher movies, fan of 80s slashers, want to learn more about the history of slashers, where that kind of came from, and somebody who appreciates slower, older movies that are shot really like beautifully. You can appreciate the cinematography. And I think for those purposes, and the kills, the first one is worth watching. But a lot of problems with it. You could take a pass on it if you wanted to.
Yeah, I would say the original 1976 one. If you go around saying you're a horror buff and you've seen all classic horror movies, you know, this is one you're going to have to watch if you haven't seen it yet. Because I do feel like it's important. It's very interesting. Definitely one of the first slashers ever made.
It's historically important.
Historically important. If you go around and you're like, oh yeah, I watch horror movies, but you haven't seen anything that was made before like 1999.
Not that that's a bad thing.
Not that it's a bad thing, because it's just when you grew up or what you watched. This movie probably isn't for you.
Yeah, 2014 version, I would say, honestly, I really liked it. If you like slashers, even modern slashers like Saw and all that stuff, I would say you'll enjoy. Especially if you like You're Next and The Guest. Yeah. But even if you just like Saw and that kind of like these modern, like really popular blockbuster slashers, I think you would enjoy the Town of the Dreaded Sundown 2014. It's, in my opinion, miles above the original, even though the original is great. And of course, the time gap is like a huge reason for that. But I thought it was a really great remake, and it's not always often that you get a remake that's better than the original.
I would say the remake of Town of the Dreaded Sundown, really great visually. That cinematographer, I probably should have looked him up, but that dude needs to make more movies. Just the way everything was framed in the film was like on purpose, deliberate. I didn't feel like they just kind of threw the camera there because that's what was most convenient. Like everything felt deliberately framed and shot, which I wholeheartedly appreciated. The acting was really good, especially for a horror movie. Some kind of interesting like actors showed up, like we mentioned. I love the meta-ness.
The plot was a big selling point for the movie, I think.
This is which movie do you think has the better entertainment value? Like you'll get more out of this movie.
Depends who you are. If you like older films, I think you'll get a lot of entertainment, especially older slashers. You'll get a lot of entertainment out of the original. But if you like horror movies in general, especially slashers, you're going to get a lot of entertainment out of the new one. And for that reason, I would say 2014 Town of the Dreaded Sundown is the better film of the two.
Basically, I would say, in my professional opinion, the remake is better. I'm going to go ahead and say in these, because I know you don't like taking these kind of stands, I'm just going to go out and say which one I think is better. And I'm going to say Town of the Dreaded Sundown 2014, better than the original. The original just wasn't as well made, and I know, it's product of the time, but there are really good movies made during that time period that hold up today. But so Town of the Dreaded Sundown. If you can only see one, for some reason, if like your doctor comes up to you and was like,
gun to your head.
If your doctor comes up to you and was like, you have this weird aneurysm that's like, if you watch Town of the Dreaded Sundown, both of them, you'll die. You can only pick one to watch. I would say go with the remake.
Absolutely watch the remake.
All right.
That was the Town of the Dreaded Sundown.
Hopefully we'll be popping up more of these in the future.
Probably not. This is our last video. See ya.
No.